Hello and welcome. This is Bree Stedman, host of Own Your BS, the podcast, where your negative head talk and the bullshit stories you tell yourself become irrelevant, and solution focus creates a path of emotional confidence, clarity, and control. Hello and welcome to Own Your BS, the podcast. This is episode 4. I cannot believe that this podcast has now been running for 1 whole month. So a quick thank you to everyone who has chosen to listen into this podcast, who has shared, liked, subscribed, and reviewed. I'm so appreciative of your time. Today, I want to continue the conversation of negative head talk by exploring some commonly spoken phrases or words that act as an implication to negativity. And there's 2 words in particular that I'd like to explore today. Those words being I should. Now you're probably thinking, Bree, how is should a negative word? That doesn't make me feel anything. This is the power of language. When we start to look deep into what those commonly used phrases actually make us feel, then we can take back control of the quality of our head talk. And ultimately, that is what Own Your BS, the podcast, is all about. Giving you insights into why you keep getting caught up in the trap of negative thinking and getting you to look at these things from a different point of view. So, what does should even mean? Should is used to indicate obligation, duty, or correctness, and it's typically used when criticising someone's actions. Now, I'm going to come back to this because I feel like this is such an important concept to grasp when it comes to negative self-talk. But firstly, let's talk about obligation, because ultimately when we think about I should as a precursor to a sentence, it generally leaves us feeling or acting out of obligation, where we feel bound or committed to do something for the sake of someone else. I should play with the kids. I should be more calm. I should stop yelling. I should stop eating this food. I should do more housework, put on that load of washing, pack the dishes away. I should make that phone call that I've been delaying. I should call my mum, my nan, my best friend. Geez, it's been such a long time since I spoke to them. I really should pick up the phone. I should go to bed. I should get out of bed. All of these are common examples of I should. And when we think of every single example, its underlying tone is I should be doing something more than what I'm doing right now. So you are criticising your own actions. You are judging yourself every single time you rely on I should as a precursor for a decision that you need to make. And let me ask you this. If you make a decision based on I should, are you choosing to do that because it's in your best interest? Because it's something that you really want to do? Or are you doing it because you feel like that's what someone else expects you to do? That's what someone else would do if they were in this situation. I should has such a heavy feel. Let's look at this as a real life example. Let's assume you hear yourself say, I should play with the kids. You're sitting on the lounge, you're taking a deep breath after a busy day of housekeeping, of working, of connecting with people, of giving your best to the people under the roof, feeding them, nurturing them, loving them. You sit down to take a deep breath, maybe enjoy a quiet cup of tea, and then you hear that thought pop in. I should be playing with the kids. Begrudgingly, you pull yourself up off the lounge, you drag yourself to where the kids are, you sit in front of them. What are you doing, kids? Let's play. What do you think they are picking up on in regards to your energy when your choices are made based on I should play with the kids? Get real with yourself. Is this something that you really want to be doing? If the answer is no, don't you think they're going to pick up on that? And isn't it going to be hard to stay engaged with what they're doing, knowing that you don't really want to be there? Because what's going on in your head as you're sitting there playing with your kids? God, I wish I was on the lounge right now. I just want 5 minutes to myself. I'm so tired. I've done so much for everyone today. I just need a 5-minute break. So are you really playing with the kids in this example, or are you just there physically? Let's look at this from a flip side. Let's say you've sat down on the couch after a busy day. I choose to go play with the kids right now. What energy is filled with that choice of words? I choose to go play with the kids right now. There's a sense of willingness, a sense of playfulness even. And when you sit down to play with your kids, you're not bringing in that heavy, begrudging sense of obligation because you have made the choice to be there with them. So if you sit down and you start thinking, I wish I was there on the lounge, you're the only one to blame for where you are right now because you made the choice to get up and play with them. Likewise, if you think to yourself, I choose to enjoy this cup of tea right now. I choose to take a deep breath and then I will go and play with the kids. What happens when you choose to do something for yourself and then play with the kids? If you choose to do something for yourself and then make that phone call, do the housework, get out of bed or go to bed. By simply replacing I should with I choose, you put yourself in the driver's seat of your actions. And ultimately that means you become responsible for what happens in your day-to-day life. Because every single action that you make is ultimately because of a choice that you have made. The way that you go into that action, though, is determined by the way you think about it prior to committing to it. So when you're relying on I should to dictate your movements, you're acting from a sense that is not in alignment with what is best for you. Generally, you will be acting out of a sense of obligation or a sense of criticizing yourself and judging yourself. Because ultimately it means if you're doing something and then you have that thought of I should, you're implying that what you're doing right now is not enough. And how is that going to make you feel? Is that going to make you feel with emotional control? Or are you going to feel less than, not good enough? If you haven't already listened to last week's podcast, you might choose to listen to that next, where I explore not good enough and we redefine what not good enough looks like. So that when I should pops into mind, you can then squash any feeling of not good enough with the sense that this is enough because this is what it looks like and this is what I am choosing to do right now. And when we look at what I choose means, choosing means looking at the alternatives that are available to you and then making the decision that is best or most appropriate for that point of time. And when we look at life, every action, every thought, every decision that you make is a choice that lies solely on you. The way that you show up is up to you. So you can go into any encounter, any situation, and any circumstance with that heaviness of I should. Or you can choose what you go into. I hope that this makes sense, and I hope it starts to ignite a new way of thinking about I should. I hope it encourages you to turn the I shoulds into I choose. Because I know from personal experience, when I make my decisions based on what I think I should be doing, I'm never fully committing myself because there's always a part of my head that's wishing I was somewhere else. And yet when I choose to play with my kids, when I choose to pick up the phone and speak to people, when I choose to do the housework, that is something that I have control of. And therefore, I can approach those activities with the best of me. The last little thing that I really just feel drawn to share with you in regards to I should, particularly because it is such a female thing to say, and it's such a guilty thing to think, because quite often I should is implied or has such a deep sense of guilt attached to it that we act out of that obligation and guilt because we don't want to let someone else down. So we go and play with the kids because we feel guilty for sitting down and having that cup of tea. And so if this is you, I want to remind you of one very, very important thing that has saved my head on more than one occasion, and that is this: quality over quantity. It's not always about how much time you spend with your kids playing, particularly when that playtime looks like you're sitting there with them, but you're not actually engaging with them mind, body, and soul. If you're just sitting there filling up space, you're not really there with them. And so the quality of the time that you're spending is not there. You've got quantity, but it's empty. So be mindful of the quality that you bring into the conversations and the situations that involve yourself and other people. Aim for quality over quantity. And then you and they know that every time you sit down and engage with them, you are bringing the best of you because you are choosing to be there. And when you find your mind drifting off with other thoughts, bring it back to quality over quantity. Give them 5 or 10 minutes of quality connection and then go and do what you need to be doing. Go and have that cup of tea. Go and clean the house if that's what you need to do. Go and do some work for a little while if that's what you need to do. But when you actively choose to spend quality self and quality time in those actions, in those circumstances, then you're going to be able to release the sense of obligation. And ultimately, it means that there will always be time for everything that you need to do, because you choose to do the one thing at a time to your absolute best capacity and then move on to the next. So every single time you hear yourself say, I should, I encourage you to stop. Make a list of all of the options that you have available to you at that point in time, and then make the choice that feels most aligned with you. Choose to follow the good. Choose to follow the things that bring you joy and happiness. And what you'll find is that sense of heavy I should will become less and less apparent every single day. You'll also recognize that you start to feel more in control and more confident with everything that you invest you into. Thank you for joining me again today on episode 4 of Own Your BS, the podcast. It's been a delight sharing my thoughts of I should. And I hope that it's given you a new way to look at how you make your decisions and to recognize that when you do get stuck in I should, to stop and recognize that this thought is coming from a sense of obligation, self-criticism, or judgment. So stop it and replace it with choice. I choose to make those calls. I choose to ring my mum, to reconnect with my best friend. Choose to play with my kids, to build my business, to enjoy this cup of tea. I choose. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you again next week. Bye now.